share with me and get to know me.
Working within it so that you can
You
trust
got to
them.
be able to produce things. And I'll tell you why that production is so important. But before we go there, how do you use those two pieces of equipment? And
Success is not necessarily financial, but success is when you feel fulfilled in what you're doing. And then
to other women, they need to know their value, their worth.
But I believe everything that you put your mind to and you achieve, it's success.
Give us all the stuff.
Okay, I'll answer all 16 of those questions right now. I started in the music business at Sony while I was still...
and welcome to the show. My name is Renee Hastings, and I'm your host of Renee Speaks. Y'all, today's show is gonna be phenomenal. And I say that because our guest is none other than Beate Chelette, who is a growth architect and founder of The Women's Code, and provides visionaries and leaders with strategies that grow your authority so that they can scale their impact. Beate bootstrapped her passion for photography into a global business and eventually sold it to Bill Gates in a multi-million-dollar deal. Y'all, please join me in welcoming Beate Chelette. Beate, how are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I am so excited to learn more about you, your journey. But before we get started, I have some exciting news. This is actually our final show of 2023. And I am so honored that I get to close out the year with you, sharing your knowledge, your skills, your expertise with our audience. And then on top of that, since January 2024, we are going to celebrate our 1 year birthday. Our first birthday is going to be January 5th, 2024, and we're celebrating it for that episode. So I'm so excited that we get to celebrate an entire year of doing the show, and we get to wrap up 2023 with your show. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Let's do it. Let's dive right in. Let's focus on your audience and make sure that they'll walk away with some good nuggets they can use.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about you and your journey and how you got started on this path. What was the thing that happened that made it all start? How did it start?
I'm originally from Germany, and I am probably like most people, somebody who always felt that they weren't really quite entirely fitting in and had some challenges around rules and regulations. And I think I thought very early on rules are for two reasons: to be bent or broken, which did not go so well with some people in my life. And I realized very quickly that I really liked the creative part of of life or work, and that I was better being a creative on the creative side of things versus on the other part. And then as I set out to start my career, we had an aptitude test in Germany where they take you through many, 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 many pages of skill assessment. And it said on the result of the 16-page assessment, it's asking you questions like, do you like being outside? I do. Do you mind carrying heavy stuff? No, I don't. Are you afraid of heights? No, I'm not. And then you just keep going through that, and it comes out with a job that it suggests for you. And the job that was suggested, I take, Renee, was to be a roofer.
A roofer. I'm sorry, I should not laugh, but a roofer?
A roofer. And that showed me this early that what other people's interpretations were of these kinds of things probably did not apply to me. And then I said I wanted to go in the creative arts and I wanted to be a textile designer, jewelry designer, photographer. And then the career counselor kept telling me, nope, too many applicants, not enough, too many applicants, not enough jobs, too many applicants, not enough jobs. And then after she shot down every single one of my ideas, I said, "Well, what the heck else is out there?" And she says, "Well, don't you want to be a secretary?"
Ugh.
And I'm going like, "Well, okay, so wait. So from a roofer to a secretary, merciful her, shooting down
Hmm.
everything that I was interested in, and then I knew that I had to forge my own luck. And then I became a photographer anyway,
Mhm.
and
Good for you.
realized pretty quickly, Renee, that I was better at the business side of things, that I was really good in understanding how business systems worked and operated, and
Mhm.
ended up being photo editor at Elle magazine in Germany, which was
Mm.
wonderful. And I loved some of the people and some of the other people, not so much. And then I decided I was going to go on an adventure, and I quit my job and went to America and didn't go back since. I mean, I've been back
Wow.
visiting my family, but that was it, immigrated.
Wow. That is, first of all, so courageous for you, number 1, to buck the system and say, "You and your tests can, go kick rocks, and I am gonna do what feels good to me. I'm gonna do what comes naturally for me." And, you know, later for all you people who have these preconceived notions of what I'm supposed to do with my life. So I really applaud you for the courage that it took to do that. Um, so where do you think that came from? That I mean, I know you took the test and it came up that you're supposed to be a roofer. Then you talked to even your guidance counselor at school, who's supposed to be an authority in your life to give you guidance, thus the term guidance counselor. But here you are doing your own thing. Where do you think that came from?
I don't think it's a choice for some people. We now know from personality assessments today that are very common, whether people do DISC or Myers-Briggs or Enneagrams or whatever that is, that there's just different personality types.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
if we simplify this to the simplest denominator, I would say that there is idea people and there's maximizers. And
mhm,
you need to know who you are. And I have this notion that I need to create. And
mm,
then I need to create, I take planes to 30,000 feet and then I look at the terrain and then I figure out how to land them. And that's just what I
mhm.
do. So it's not so much that I ever wondered where it's coming from. It's just innate to my personality.
Right, got you. And I guess where I was going, and I totally get that, is that sometimes our environment that we are raised in, or sometimes our mom was a certain way, or our dad was a certain way, or our grandpa or our grandma was a certain way. And because we saw this modeled, we, came to understand and accept that, yeah, I'm good the way that I am. And there's nothing wrong with me. And I can work hard. I can have all this intestinal fortitude, because it's inherent, like you said. It's generational because of where I came from and my environment. And I'm just gonna be me. I'm gonna do me in
Yeah.
spite of what everyone else says.
Yeah. I think that's probably worth spending a minute or two on this because you are absolutely correct. There are things that other people expect from us that they want us to do. If I were to think what my mother had in mind for me, it certainly wasn't any of this. My
Mm,
mother my mother wanted me to be the Stepford wife, white picket fence, always look nicely dressed and take good care of kids, be married, and God knows what. Well, it just wasn't in the books for me. And
mm,
my dad who was a CEO, always thought that I should conquer the world, which sounded a hell of a lot more appealing to me than the other version. And neither one is better than the other because either depends on what drives you and what makes you happy. And I do believe that people often do what other people expect from them. So if I think about my brother would say today that he went into the insurance business because my father helped him to get a job in the insurance business. And then for some reason, I guess that must mean in my brother's eyes that once he starts in the insurance business and then his fate is sealed for the rest of his life, he must be forever in the insurance business.
Mhm.
Whereas in my world, I was a photographer, a photo editor, a still photography producer, an artist representative, a stock photography syndication owner. Now I'm a consultant and business coach. So I've had many reiterations of my career, whereas other people just don't have that. So in order to be in in congruence or aligned with who you are, you kind of need to know who you are.
Absolutely. 100%. So, going a little bit further then into your background, you call yourself a growth architect. What exactly does that mean?
So the growth architect came from from the notion that I help really come up with structures, foundational plans, blueprints, and I've been using this language for a very, very long time. You know, here's the blueprint to success. Here's the five-star success blueprint. So I looked at this and I said, well, I really architect growth. And I look
Mm,
at you, and when you build a house, you need a plan, you need a blueprint.
mhm,
And even though you may be in a neighborhood where the roof has to be at a certain angle and where you can only use a certain color roof or a certain type of roof or a certain kind of, uh, driveways have to be all brick or whatever that might be, but you still have decision making power in some of the intricacies of how you want to build your house. And so I look at growth architecture. You need a blueprint to build your success for your business. But I do not care if you put a shower in or a bathtub, or if it's a two people bathtub, or if it's a tiny little bathtub. I don't care if you spend a fortune on fixtures or not. I'm focusing on the house. Where
mhm,
are the windows facing? Is it a solid foundation? Does it have enough rooms? Does it have enough rooms to grow your growing family? What needs to happen in the house? Who needs to be in this house? What do you want
mhm,
to accomplish in the house? It's different on whether you have a house where you entertain or whether you're reclusive and you like
mhm.
small rooms because you need the sense of feeling protected. So we need to find out for our clients on what it is that they want, and then we architect their growth architecture for their business, for their growth.
Got you. I got you. And so, to that end, have you developed your own system of getting to the core of a person, or do you take into account some of those tests like DISC or Myers-Briggs that you'd mentioned before?
It's really a combination out of many different things. So we typically put our clients through a Myers-Briggs assessment because we need to know their personality type, and because the personality type relates to how they learn. I need to
Mhm.
know how you learn so I can present the information to you in such a way that you're comfortable with learning this information.
Got
And
it.
then we have a lot of templates and processes and systems that we've outlined in repeatable processes. So if somebody works with us, let's say somebody comes to us for wanting to turn their talent into a business, or somebody comes to us because they have a business but now they don't really understand the differentiation factor. They need to have a system, a signature growth system, or somebody comes to us and says, we've been in business for a while, we're successful, but now really need to scale. Then we'll put them in optimal alignment growth strategy. So for all of the three things that we do, we have parameters established, those blueprints where we help people to follow, because it is a repeatable process. And it is, everybody always says, well, my business is different. No, it's not. What's different in your business is the way you are, you interact, what you say, and what your specialty is, but the structure, the architecture of your business is not different than any other business. It may vary in some pieces, but it's a very, very similar blueprint for everything. And so that's what we do. We look at you, we look at your business, we look at what you want, we determine what the best path for you is to get wherever you want to go, and that needs to be determined, and then we'll help you to get there. And then it's time to implement.
Nice. I love that. And we were just talking a little bit earlier today about how when you have repeatable processes and you have that consistency, that it's so much easier to be more productive in that way because you're not spending your time reinventing the wheel, even though a person's industry might be different. It's the people, that are still having some aspect of growth that matters. Right.
Systems create freedom, no question. Is if there is something that you do more than once, it's a repeatable process, and then you need to automate it.
Yes, systems create freedom. That is so good. I mean, and that really resonates with me, just like to my core. Just because I enjoy knowing, what steps come next. We got this step, this step, this step. Then after this, I know there's this and this and this and this. And if we follow the system, things work and things work
One
really well.
100%, yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting a little bit toward you and your journey, you actually sold your business to Bill Gates during a recession. How did that all come about?
It's a pretty intense story, but let's just stick sort of with some of these highlights here. So I had been laid off when I was a new mother because of a prolonged recession. And I had to figure out how to build a business and become a business owner without me even having any idea what that really meant. But
Mm,
there were no jobs, so I had to figure this out on my own. And so for about a decade, I went through trial and error, and I built a business that then fell back and then went ahead, and I fell back, went ahead, was through this crazy entrepreneurial roller coaster. And
mm,
then when I finally had been at about the $1 million mark, which only 4% of business owners really ever get into, I had seen something happening with my assistant, my only employee who had gotten too close to a key vendor. And then I fired her to find out that she had really created her own business, which was my business without me. And I sued them, and then I'm involved in this huge lawsuit that lasted for an entire year. But, and that meant I kept going into deep, deep debt, deep debt.
mm,
So I'm in debt about $130,000. And I'm thinking, well, production season is rolling around. I was doing still photography production for Mercedes-Benz, BMW, Wrangler, Levi Strauss. So lots of really great companies that came to Los Angeles. And I was like the hot love producer here at the time.
mhm.
And then September 11th came and wiped out a half a million in 24 hours. I mean, it was
Oh
just
my
over.
word.
It was just over.
Oh my.
And with the towers went my entire business, and then I had to figure out how to recover. The lawsuit settled once I paid my debt, and my attorney, I had nothing. Literally came to like $5 and a few cents in the bank account, and I had to
Wow.
start all over again from the beginning.
Oh
And
my word.
that's when I started the stock photography syndication business, and now I'm going again into debt, and now I'm $135,000 in debt. I have this great idea. I have the right idea at the right time. Everything is humming along, but it's a big investment digitizing a lot of the materials that I had. That was sort of when digitization just happened.
Mhm.
And I'm out of money, and I borrow money to pay back borrowed money, which is the death spiral of finance. And then I fly to Germany to drum up some business. Now my father has a stroke.
Oh God.
My father did not have a stroke, Renee. My father had pancreatic cancer. So my dad dies in 6 weeks.
Oh no. Oh,
And then
I'm so.
and so here I am. I'm completely broke. My best friend just died. I'm at the funeral in Nether Bavaria on tickets that I can't even afford. And I'm
Oh,
standing there, and I buried him, and my phone rings, and it's my office in Los Angeles. We've been served a notice. So now we have to move, lose the house.
Oh gosh.
And I'm standing there, Renee, and I'm falling to my knees, and I do the sensible thing. I raise my fist. I yelled at God, and I said, don't take this the wrong way here, but if you have a plan, this would be a really good time to fill me in because I mean, how much?
Mhm.
What else? I mean, who has all of this? I mean, that's just not
Oh
freaking
my.
normal, right? And then I surrender, and I come back, and I get a letter from the White House not too long after that, from the White House, the President of the United States. Because
Oh
in my
wow.
absolute desperation, I had written a letter to the President of the United States because my former mother in law was such a nag about it. You got to write a letter to the president. Why don't you go to the number one guy in the country? If anybody can help you, it's the president. The president knows everything and everybody. You got to call the president. You got to write the president. Have you written the president? I said, oh my God, can we just stop? So I wrote the letter to the president.
Oh wow.
And then I get a letter
Thanks
from
for that encouragement, mother-in-law.
and then I get a letter from the White House. And it says the president sends his best wishes. And
Mhm.
this letter put me in touch with the Small Business Administration,
Mhm.
which put me in touch with the second in command because they also got a letter from the White House.
Mhm.
And then they helped me to find a bank that would restructure my debt. And
No.
3 months later, I'm break even. 18 months later, I'm the world leader in my category.
Wow.
And then a Bill Gates company comes and says, "Can you tell us how you did that?" And I said, "No. You want it?
Yeah, did that once before, yeah, and didn't end so well.
You want it, you buy it." And they said, "How much?" And I said, "A couple million." And they said, "Fine."
Nice. That is fantastic. So this story is unlike any I have ever heard before. I mean, talk about tragedy on top of tragedy on top of tragedy on top of tragedy. And then for all of these things to happen, and your mother in the meantime, mother-in-law saying, "Write the president of the United States of America." What I have to know, what did the letter say that you wrote?
The letter just said, "You always talk about that the small business is the backbone of the American economy. I came here as an immigrant. I did exactly what the deal was. I was going to come here. I don't lie. I don't cheat. I've done everything right. I raised my daughter. I pay my taxes. I create employment. I do good work. There's literally everything that I've done, and because of these external circumstances, I'm I need help. I don't know
Wa
what to do."
wow. Wow. That is just number one, just hearing the bullet points. 'Cause I'm sure that it was much more in depth. But it just definitely tugs at my heartstrings. And if I was the recipient of that letter, opening mail for the president, you know, I would definitely move that to the top of the pile and say, look, here's your opportunity to actually put some, put money where your mouth is,
I'm
basically.
I'm pretty sure the president of the United States never saw this letter. I'm pretty sure that this was some sort of
Right.
intern in a cellar. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's thousands of mother-in-laws that tell their, daughter-in-laws to write letters to the president. And people always want something, but that was irrespective because what it
Mhm.
did, it just put me in touch with the right people. And
Exactly. Exactly.
not to say that I couldn't have figured this out on my own, but I didn't. And
Mhm.
that's what the letter helped.
Right, absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you followed your mother-in-law's advice to write the letter, and whoever opened the letter, whether they took it to the president or not, he still operates under somebody's guidance and direction to give him permission to send it on to the next person that you're supposed to know who's going to help you. So I'm just so glad that things worked out the way that they did. And um, I've heard so many times over and over again that our trials are not just for us, but they are for somebody else. Whether it's for you to have a testimony in the end of how you made it through, to encourage someone, to give them hope. That's what our trials are for. That at least that's in my, I think, in a nutshell. But you turn that adversity and also into authority. That's the title of today's show, turning adversity into authority. So now you are in authority on what it takes to navigate these types of situations and to never, ever, ever give up hope. So, that being the case, what are some words of wisdom or advice that you have um, to to share with other people who may be going through tough times?
Good points here. The way I describe it is when you drive a car and then your GPS comes up with the notice that it needs to be updated.
Mhm.
And then one day, inevitably, the shortcut that you used to take under the freeway is blocked because they're building that whatever overpass or whatever thing is being remodeled. You can't go your regular way.
Mhm.
So you're going to stop. You're going to get out of the car. You're going to throw yourself on the ground. You're going to throw a temper tantrum in front of the construction crew. You're going to go and say, "That's it. I'll never drive again. That's it. I'm the
Mm,
worst driver in the world. Cars suck. I will never pay
mm.
another dime for insurance. That's it. I'll never go anywhere ever again. And the destination I wanted to go to is probably gone by now." Says nobody ever. Ever.
Right. Says nobody ever.
You just go and you sit in your car, you go, note to self, update the GPS next time when the first warning comes. Listen to the
Yeah.
voice when it tells you the first time. And
Mhm.
so you turn around, you wave at the guy and, with a hard hat and the neon green thing with the reflective stripe. And you
Mhm.
know that this way is not the way to go, but you do know your destination is still there. So guess what? You're just going to find another way.
That's
And I
right.
think that's really the message when you look at failure or adversity. It's God's way. It is the path to show you that this path is not the path for you to go. It
Mhm.
just isn't. And then
Right.
instead of arguing, why are you building a freeway here? Why does this overpass have to get fixed up? I mean, that's not fair. I mean, nobody says that.
Right.
You
Right.
just go, oh, okay. I guess that road's closed now.
Right?
That
Yeah.
road's closed now. So just have that same idea. So
I love it.
you cannot take failure personal. You have to believe that it is God's way to show you which path is not available to you anymore.
Right, exactly. And again, it's all serving a purpose, and that purpose is to show you what's not correct. Right? So, as you're dealing with adversity as well and dealing with trials and trying to figure things out and maybe hitting a roadblock or having to figure out how a alternate route, and waiting for the GPS to say recalculating, you know, how important do you believe community is during this time?
I wish I could tell you that I had community at the time, which I didn't because I was a single mom, and I wrote a book about this called Happy Woman, Happy World, because
Hmm.
I do think that single moms are to this day considered the outcast of society, as if we've done something wrong that
Mhm.
deserves, that we have to be punished in perpetuity because we couldn't keep the man, or the man's an alcoholic because of us, or
Mm.
because it's always somehow in the story it's always women whose fault it is.
Mm.
And I did not get invited for many reasons. One was I didn't have the money to get to any table. If I needed people to come, if I needed community, I had to build it myself, and people came over to my house. I entertained a lot. I couldn't afford
Mhm.
babysitters, and so people had to come over to my house. So I had to figure it out. So I created my own community, but it was a small community because I just didn't have the time or the funds to do that. But I will say, build see that you can find a community of some sort. I mean, back then we didn't have Facebook groups, and that was even
Right.
pre meetup. My daughter
Mhm.
is now 31. She just had her own baby. It's a lot easier today to find community that you can participate in without ever leaving your house that didn't exist back then. So
Right.
I would say it is very important because if you're not alone, and I had a very honest conversation today with a mastermind group that I created in COVID, and we still meet every Friday. And
Mm,
I shared something very personal that I've been recognizing that I've been having some anxiety, and I haven't had anxiety in 30 years, but I'm
mm,
having it now because there's a lot of things. My brother had a almost fatal heart attack. My daughter had a baby. My role is shifting. So there's many, many, many things in my life right now that are very angsty. And
mhm,
suddenly I'm experiencing this choking feeling. And I'm like, oh my
mm,
God, I need to go to the doctor and find out. And then Gary, my partner, says, do you have anxiety? I'm like,
mm.
what? Me? No.
Right, yeah. Never.
And never. And then I read up on it. And I mean, it's textbook, right?
Mhm,
And
mhm,
so when I talked to my community today about this, it felt really good to share that. And then people say, "Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that. I
mm,
still have it. I had it so bad I had to breathe in the paper bag. I had it so
mhm.
bad that I would constantly run away." And so you recognize that you're not alone going through something. So I think community is very important.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, I'm so glad that you have that mastermind, and I'm proud of you for opening up and sharing that personal part of you, to allow them to speak into that and speak into you and give you life to help you navigate this situation, because anxiety is no joke. I know. It's very serious, and comes out of nowhere. Like, wait, what in the world? What, what is happening? It's like, I'm just doing life. What is all this heart fluttering thing and feeling like I can't breathe? What? This is some nonsense. So, I completely get that. Completely get it. And I appreciate you sharing that. And I too was a single mom for years and years and years, so I know what that struggle is like. Trying to, raise children by yourself, especially if you had a husband that wasn't great and you're trying to combat all of that negativity and raise them good kids with good morals and good sense and that sort of thing. It can be a challenge. It can be a humongous challenge. And fortunately, though, at that time, I did have a community that I could rely on and talk to, and other people who were spiritual minded, people to help me to not give up and to know that I'm still loved, I'm still valuable, I'm still worthy of love, even though things didn't work out with my husband. And I'm an amazing mom, and my kids are great. So to have someone there to do that really meant so much to me as a single mom, as my kids were little and I was trying to navigate all of that. So community is so crucial as you're dealing with an adversity as a business owner or just in life, period. When you're going through things, it helps to be able to talk to people who have been where you've been through what you've been through, to help encourage you to share their testimony of how they got through. So there's hope. And whatever you're going through is temporary. And as my grandmother would say, this too shall pass.
Yes, I mean 100%. Yes.
Yes, yes. So, Beate, what would you say is the best and fastest way to grow your authority in any market?
The first thing is you have to get very clear what authority actually is, not to be confused with influencing or celebrity status.
Mm,
The An authority is an industry subject matter expert,
okay.
not a show horse, not
Mm.
Beyonce, not Gary V, not
Mm,
Alex Hermosi, not any of the flashy guys out there. That is
mhm,
a small, 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 small percentage of the market.
mm,
You most likely, as an authority, need to be very clear on what you're going to be the authority in. And
right.
that needs to be clearly differentiated from your competitors. And when
Mm,
so I'll give you an example. The reason we are the growth architect is because I'm not a business consultant. because
Hmm.
there's so many business consultants.
Right.
But I am a growth architect, which is different than a business consultant. Because right now, what they're doing is they're pumping these kids through these business business seminars, charge
Mm-hmm.
them $10,000, then give them a certificate, and then they are the authority on the subject.
Right.
And and that's what authority is not. What authority is that you become a subject matter expert. You know exactly what you're subject matter expert in, and then you have a content and a creation plan that tells you exactly step by step by step by step on how to build that authority in this particular subject.
Mm. So part of the authority of being part of being a subject matter expert
Mhm.
is actually being able to document the facts step by step of how to accomplish whatever needs to get done.
Yeah, well, that would be really a part of the growth plan. I think
Okay.
the authority has to be part of the strategy. You're absolutely correct about that. But how to become an authority is really a decision that you have to make. So if you say, well, I'm the authority on something, then what is that you're the authority on? So
Mhm.
I'm an authority on reverse engineering things. I'm an authority on growth architecture. I can figure out in no time where a business owner is at. And it'll take me no time at all to get you from here to that very next level. That's very simple for me because that is my subject matter authority. What I'm not the authority on is speaking. I'm not the authority on digital marketing. I'm not the authority on copywriting. I am the authority on reverse engineering business growth plans.
Mm, got you. Got you. So you need to know your lane
Yes. Yes.
and
That's a good way to put it. I like that, Renee. Yes.
yes, and stay in your lane. Know your limitations. So that's what I say a lot. I know my limitations. That is great. So thank you so much for sharing that. We need to make a decision that we are going to be an authority. That's step one. Make the decision because it stems from there, right?
100%. It does stem from there. Yes.
Yes. So, what strategies then do you offer to individuals that are aiming to leverage adversity into authority? How can I make that?
So, yeah. So, a lot of times what happens is that people make apologies for the stuff that they had to encounter. And
Mm,
I always recommend them to lean into that.
mhm,
So, when somebody says to me, like, I give you another example. So I was doing at Merck Pharmaceuticals, I was doing a workshop on this. We call this the unapologetic value proposition. And it
mm,
was about figuring out what your super skill is and then leaning into that. And so there's this guy, and I watched him, and everywhere he went, he goes like, "Hey Sheila, looking good, Susan. Oh John, how are the kids? Did they win the soccer game?" And everywhere he went, everybody's like, "Oh my God, I love the guy." And then he goes
mhm,
and he says, "I don't know what my super skill is. I don't think I have one." And I said, "Let me guess." I said, "Every time you walk into a room, the energy in the room goes up immediately and people are just happy that when there's a conflict and you come in, you can resolve things very quickly." And he goes like, "Well, doesn't everybody know how to do that?" I said, "Oh no, honey. No."
mm-mm. Absolutely not.
Absolutely, absolutely not. No, no. Most people do the opposite, especially in this political climate right now. They open their mouth and then you go and wish they never did. So I said, "That's your super skill." And then all his people that were around him, like, "Exactly, that's exactly who you are. That's how we see you. You're
Mhm.
amazing with that." And he says, "I didn't even know this was a super skill." So
Wow.
so you think it's adversity that you don't have anything because you can't see it. So you
Right.
need somebody to look at you and say, "You're a peacemaker. You are a community driven person. You are a connection person. You are, oh my God, you're a process person. You can reverse engineer anything."
Mhm.
Oftentimes we don't know. And the good stuff is always found where you don't want to look.
Like inside?
Yes, it's like when I look at the trauma of my childhood and the abuse, I don't want to go there. I want to
Mm,
talk about how I sold my business to Bill Gates.
mhm.
Nobody wants to hear about that. I mean, they go like, "Oh, that's really great. You made a couple million selling your business to Bill Gates." But how did you manage adversity? I'm like, "Oh my God, do I have to go back through that?" Because
Right.
they're not interested in the victory. They're interested in how am I going to give them the hope to get there?
Mm, it's
That's
understandable.
where, so I have to go where I don't want to go to stay with my
Yeah.
example in the
Mhm.
vulnerability in the dark times. And that's where my superpower is. My superpower is not selling my business to Bill Gates. My superpower is overcoming adversity and not giving up
Right. Absolutely.
and
And
finding
teaching
finding a
others.
way. Yes, exactly.
Yes. Because not enough people know how.
Yes.
And I think too, in this society that we live in, especially with younger people, it makes me sad that they don't know how to, and I'm being so general, but a lot of them don't know how to navigate life, period. Like if they have to work an entire 8-hour day,
Yes.
that's so hard.
And be like, if it's only an 8-hour day, that's a short day for us.
Right, exactly. And I'm just like, and then they're whining and crying and like, oh, I only got two 15-minute breaks and a 30-minute break. And they want me to talk to people and be nice. And it absolutely drives me insane because that's just adulting. Right? That's just a part of life. That's just something that we need to know how to do from an early age and not just expect things to be handed to us. Adversity is going to come. And real adversity, like some bad things are going to happen. It just is the way things are. But how you get through it is what's key. You need to know how to navigate these challenging times and situations that will build your character, that will build your intestinal fortitude so that you can handle life and the things that it might throw at you to try to knock you off a course and keep you um, from recalculating a new path to get back on the road.
100%. Yes. I do think that there's a lot in there that we created what we thought was a fail safe environment for our children, only to find out that they managed to fail regardless. And they're
Mm,
failing at things that we never even thought about they could fail in, which is discipline, focus, and things like that, or
mm,
even the desire to succeed. So I think we are to blame for a lot of that because we
mm.
made it too easy because we had to work so hard. So we wanted to take this away from them and we can't.
Yes. I was having a similar conversation with other family members and other friends, and we were just talking about that exact same thing. We were trying to make life easy for our kids, and in the process, created a generation of people who don't know how to be strong, who don't know how to deal with anything that might look like an inconvenience. We just have to do better and just know that things are going to have to change. The way people think about things, the way people look at things, the desire to achieve, even as you were just saying, we have to start maybe with the next generation of teaching them as grandparents how important it is to set goals and try to reach for goals and how to overcome things if you don't achieve your goals. It doesn't mean that you're bad. It doesn't mean that you're a loser. It just means that you need to figure out what it takes to make the goal the next time. So that and celebrate your achievements along the way. But don't be just satisfied with the set making the milestone. Be satisfied when you actually accomplish the whole thing that you set out to do, but still celebrate along the way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
For
makes a
your
lot of sense.
motivation to keep on going and keep on getting stronger, keep on setting higher goals once you reach them, because Someone said to me, what you've already done is no longer your goal. I mean, because you've already done it. So you need to set another one. Raise
100%.
the bar. Raise the bar. Absolutely. I know that we are running out of time, but before we leave, what is one message that you want everyone to hear? And what do you want them to take away from today's conversation as a business owner or just as a person?
Yeah, just fail faster. Think about failing or
Hmm.
reaching a dead end fast as an accomplishment versus a defeat. Because if you think about shutting down the wrong roads and you can do that as quickly as possible, that'll probably
Mm.
be really helpful for you.
Wow. Fail faster. That's the first time I've ever heard that. Fail faster. That d wow, that's like a whole mindset shift, like like a like a whole shift.
Yeah, don't throw
Um,
yourself on the ground. Fail fast and then say, "Ah, did that in record time."
right, right, 'cause then you know what doesn't work, which gives you more time to figure out what does work.
Bad clients, bad relationships, programs that you are wasting your time in, fail fast.
Yes, I love it. And how can we reach you and stay in touch with you? This was so good, and I
Thank
know
you.
that our audience will want to learn more about these life-changing perspectives that you brought to us today.
Yeah, so number one, go to my website, go to beatechelette.com, check it out, and take a look. And if you heard something that is of interest to you, by all means, reach out to us via our uncovery session. Make sure you mention this show so you get priority treatment for your 15-minute complimentary uncovery session. And finally, if you're a business owner and you feel like you're kind of stuck, go to the growth blocker quiz and find out in literally a minute what is hindering your growth and what you can do to remove that growth blocker and grow, build, and scale your business going forward. And while we're at it, please, wherever you pick up this show, will you go there now, give the show a 5-star review, write a little comment. Comments are absolutely critical for engagement in the algorithm so that Renee can reach more people with this show.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that admonition to the audience. Love that so much. And definitely everyone who's watching and listening now and later, go to uncoverysession.com to get your information and to stay in touch with today's very, very special guest. So, Beate, it has been an absolute honor having you on the show. You were made for something great. So go and be awesome.
Thank you.